Hello, everyone, and welcome to our little group here on Patreon with Annette Biggers. Hey, how was your weekend? Mine was probably like yours, started out very heavy, and we were all grieving. Most of us were grieving. I would say for the most part, people were grieving over Charlie Kirk, the loss of him. And I was very surprised at how much it felt like a brother died, someone very close to me. And I heard that from a lot of people that they've never grieved the loss of someone that they didn't know like this. And I felt the same way. I felt like a brother, died and someone very close to me. And that just kind of proves the whole spirit to spirit thing. And I didn't even watch him a lot. I appreciated how he communicated with those that didn't love him or didn't like him. And even those who would spit on him, I loved the way that he would respond to them with gentleness and kindness and just bold truth as well. But I didn't feel the need to watch him a lot. But I was so glad that there was someone who would speak to the younger generation who thought that colleges were worth his attention. And, he acknowledged that these kids are being indoctrinated. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to have conversations with the youth. And he did a really good job at it. Anyways, so I went to healing rooms on Saturday and I noticed that it was a very heavy atmosphere. And and I knew, oh, this is because of Charlie Kirk. And our worship didn't sound the same. It wasn't full of life and joy like it normally is. And so I was like, wow, we have a lot of people coming today. What are we going to do about this? We got to do something, right? And so I sat down in these chairs on the side of the great room and I just said, Jesus, I got to get out of this funk because how am I going to pray for anyone and make any difference in their life? I know you're here, but I don't want to be that sort of blockage for them because my heaviness is getting in the way or whatever. And he just said, well, why don't you ask me about Charlie Kirk? And I was like, oh, okay. And I just said, I think the Holy Spirit prompted this, but I just said, show me what Charlie's doing right now. And I closed my eyes and I stayed in this mode of worship. And all of a sudden, I had this detailed vision of the throne room. And we were all kneeling down. But it wasn't like the Muslims, like they pray with their head down. We were all on our knees and hands. And most everyone was full of joy, laughing. And I heard someone call my name right next to me. And I looked over and it's Charlie Kirk. And such detail. I saw such detail in his face. And he was more handsome than I've ever seen him. His skin was glowing, his eyes were sparkling, his hair was moving with light, and he was laughing and he goes, Annette, he goes, this is so exciting. And he's like, look at this. Isn't this fun? And he gets up, he's laughing, and he's like, come on, this is so much fun. And he gets up, he takes a flag, and it's a red flag, and then he picks up a white one and he starts flagging in the middle of all of us worshiping. We're circling, and he's like dancing ridiculously happy. And I was just like, wow, yes, this is so much fun. I didn't even have to think about it. Well, this vision gave me the feeling of it, and it became more true to me than what I was experiencing in the realm of the physical. Okay. I don't know if that makes sense to any of you. I'm going to try to make sense of it today in our little talk here. But God gave me a vision to help me shift my narrative. My narrative was earthbound. And all of us saw the horrible videos of him, right? And those were replaying in my mind. I was noticing that, oh, revival's breaking out in that country, in that country, in that country. And it still seemed like so far away for me. You know, we did have a vigil here in Reading, and it was wonderful. The day that he was killed, I think we all met at our civic auditorium or our civic center. And it still just seemed like, wow, I'm glad this is happening all over the world, but in my heart, I'm just so grieving and still mourning, and carry this heaviness. And it was like God wanted to shift my narrative so that I could shift others' narratives. He gives me a detailed picture of him celebrating in the throne room. That became more real to me than this reality. And every person we prayed for on Saturday got a huge upgrade in glory. You know how the Bible says God is taking you from glory to glory? Every person just stepped up into a higher place of being with Christ, and that healed their bodies. Now, I have to say, most people didn't ask for healing for physical things. Most people were they just came and their page was blank. And I just said, well, what are we praying for you about today? And then they would explain, well, my daughter wants to commit suicide. I'm worried. I'm full of fear. They would start explaining what it was. I need a prophetic word. And that was the first time that's ever happened. We only had one person that came to our prayer team that needed a physical prayer, which was for his heart. And it ended up being we were taking all this weight off of his emotional state, and his heart started just to feel better. He just started to feel lighter, right? And so, what I'm trying to tell you is that if you can go in the spirit with Jesus, because you can, if you can activate your imagination, you can train your imagination to start looking for things, to ask Him to show you things, and you begin to imagine things and you just go with it, God will show you the details. And I saw a detailed version of Charlie Kirk that I've never seen before. And it became more real to me than his earthly existence. And that shifted everything for me. Now, the one thing that I wish I had done, I wish I had grabbed the microphone from the leader that day and told the vision that I had, because the whole prayer team didn't get to experience what I did unless they did it on their own. I don't know. But I wonder if things would have shifted if I had grabbed the microphone and told the narration that God gave me. And that's what I want to talk about today, my friends, is narration. Because every person is living by their narration, the story that they're telling themselves. You're telling yourself a story, and that story is driving your life. It's driving your moods, it's driving your decisions, it's driving your business, it's driving your family relationships, it's driving your friendships. And so God has invited us to be storytellers, and on top of that, story makers. We are designed to be kingdom intelligence, not artificial intelligence. That's of the world, right? That if you can think of it this way, everything that you see in the physical realm is artificial intelligence. It's not that it's not real, it's not the truth. It's true, but it's not truth. And so we want to go from what's true to what's truth, because what's truth is eternal. And what's truth and what's eternal will shift your personal narrative and will cause you to walk in the ways and the power of Jesus, where you're shifting people's lives, where you're saying things that will shift their narrative, shift their reality, so they're walking in the ways of Christ in the power of God. And this is what we're designed for ever since Jacob. I want to go all the way back. Well, really, Abraham too. Abraham says this mountain is the vision of God. I got the vision of God on this mountain. When Abraham had this small mentality, God said, "Come out and count the stars with me." And this is what God is asking you to do. And you can do this in any area of your life. Go out with God and start to count the stars. See what's actually truth. What's his reality? What is he saying? Look at the world, look at your situation from his perspective, from the throne room. We're not supposed to live in this realm. We're supposed to live from that realm towards this one. Okay, so then Abraham, yes, he got to see the stars, and then God God takes Jacob into a wrestling match. Now, I don't believe all of us are called to a wrestling match. Do you know why Jacob had a wrestling match? Because he was stubborn. You don't have to be stubborn, my friends. Just choose not to be. Just go with God where he wants to take you. Okay, let me go back to Genesis chapter 29. It's so funny. I was thinking about this story all Saturday and Sunday, and then Chris preaches on it. Ah, I was so excited. Um, Jacob, he wakes up from his dream and he says, I can't even believe I missed this, but God is in this place. How did I miss it? How did I miss that God was right here? We do this all the time, my friends. We miss opportunities because we don't realize God is right there. And he says that, how did I miss this? But I wanted to read to you the notes down here that Brian Simmons writes in the Passion Translation. He goes, where do I want to start? There's so much good right here. Bethel means the house of God. Jacob could see in a heap of stones the house of God that would arise. This is the first mention of God's house in Scripture. The house of God was was filled with his presence, a gateway to heaven. Now, my friends, did you know that you are a gateway? You can also use the word portal. You are considered a gateway. And God gives Jacob this vision of a staircase. And there are messengers, there are angels descending and ascending on the staircase. And what did Jesus say when he got baptized? He comes out, or was it when he got baptized? It's in John chapter 2. He said, um, I prophesy to you eternal truth. From now on, you will see an open heaven and gaze upon the Son of Man, Jesus, like a stairway reaching into the sky with the messengers of God climbing up and down upon him. Jesus is now, he's basically taking the story of Jacob and saying, you're going to see this in my life. And do you know what? This is your life. You are a gateway and a stairway to heaven. David got a vision of this, and this is before Jesus. He started seeing, oh, I'm the gateway. This is Psalms 24, verse 7. So wake up, you living gateways. Maybe you don't know you're a gateway because you're sleeping. Your spirit is sleeping. We need to wake ourselves up to the idea, to the fact that God is near, like Jacob. We need to wake up to the fact that we are gateways. We're gateways to the throne of God, to the throne room. That's the truth. That's the eternal truth that will shift your whole life, that will heal people's bodies. This is why this is so important. It's going to change our lives on the earth. Wake up, you living gateways. Lift up your heads, you ageless doors of destiny. Those of you who call yourself old, begin to call yourself an ageless door of destiny. Come on. Welcome the King of Glory, for he is about to come through you. God, the King of Glory, is about to come through you. You ask, who is this King of glory? The Lord, armed and ready for battle, the mighty one, invincible in every way. Okay, I'm going to keep reading because it's so good. This is again Psalms 24. So wake up, you living gateways, and rejoice. Fling wide, you ageless doors of destiny. He said it again. Yay. Here he comes, the King of glory is ready to come in. He's ready to come in. Will you be stubborn like Jacob and wrestle? Will you have to live your whole life with a limp because of your stubborn ideas or your familiar spirits, maybe religious spirits? What do you do with all that? You just let go of it. That's really what you do. You ask, who is this King of glory? He is the Lord of victory, armed and ready for battle, the mighty one, the invincible commander of heaven's host. Yes, he is the King of glory. My friends, you are that person. You are the gateway for Jesus to travel up and down, for the angels to come in and up and down. The messengers of God are coming upon you. They're ascending and descending upon you. You are a holy gateway, and you are the new storytellers. You are a narrative that will drive everything into the King of Glory. This is your assignment. There's storytellers and then there's story makers. It's okay to tell a story. Yes, I did that. I did both. I would tell stories through my photography, but mostly I was a story maker. I would say, I don't take photos, I make photos. I would take someone's reality and I would shift it to the All Things Possible network. And I would say, this is what you really look like. And I would make a story for my clients. And I would then give them a portrait of who I saw them to be. And it would shift their whole life. When they forgot what I would tell them or prophesy to them on the photo set, they would look at their portrait and remember it. I would make them a memory of their future. And this is what we want to do is we want to make memories of our future. I did that Saturday in the healing rooms. I created a memory that was more powerful than the memory of Charlie Kirk getting shot and killed. I created a memory that was truth instead of what was true on earth. And that truth shifted the people that I prayed for on Saturday their whole life. Why is that? Because when you shift your narrative and when you begin to be a story maker, what happens is the King of Glory can come through and shift everything. You see, we are called to tell a different story. One of truth, not one that is bound, earthbound, not one that is of the world, but one that is of the kingdom. Again, we have kingdom intelligence. There's artificial intelligence, but there is kingdom intelligence. And we are kingdom intelligence bearers. And we get to be the ones who direct the narrative. It even says, where did I see this? That we will inhabit or we will possess the gates of our enemies. What does that mean? See, if we're gateways, what about the gateways of our enemies? Their gateways are tuned in to the world system, to death and decay and hell. If we're the ones who will go and possess the gateways of our enemies, we're shifting their gateways. We're taking them from a world system and we're shifting it to a heaven system. And we get to be the ones that drive the narrative. We're invited to. We have the supreme ability to drive the narrative. My friends. And it's easy. We don't have to strive for it. We're the storytellers of all storytellers. We're the story makers of all story makers. We have supreme intelligence and influence. It is an incredible thing that God has offered us, that God has made us to be by his son. I want to read a few things in my notes here. Some are telling stories merely to entertain. Entertainment is great. I love it. I love going to a good movie. I love it. Some marketers are telling stories merely for conversion. But we have been called to tell stories that drive deep connection and shape the future. That's what we've been called to. Isn't that an amazing calling, my friends? We are connecting the spirit with the soul. We are aligning people up with the truth of the spirit realm. This is just such a privilege. We storytellers restore order with imagination. We okay, this is actually a Walt Disney quote from the movie Saving Mr. Banks. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. It's an incredible movie. But he says, we storytellers restore order with imagination. We instill hope again and again and again. It's not an awesome privilege. Oh my goodness. The world operates from artificial intelligence. We operate from kingdom intel, and it reigns supreme. The information age is over. The imagination age has just begun. And I want to reiterate that the imagination is the eyes of the spirit. Some people have their eyes um, tilted towards the realm of the earth, the world system, and they're dying because of it. They are suffering from death and decay. They're suffering from fragmentation. They're not so connected with the truth. You know, a lot of people, what they do is they say, this is just the way it is. And that gives them a fragmented life. Or this is just the way my personality is. And that keeps them in a cage. It keeps them in the cage of their own narrating story, their own story they keep telling themselves every day. Oh, this is just the way it is. This is just my personality. Oh, I don't like that. So I can't do that. I'm not an evangelist, so I can't go tell that person about Jesus. Do you know that every Christian has been given the shoes of the gospel, the power of the gospel? You have the shoes of the gospel. And if you say, I'm not an evangelist, it means you took your shoes off. Do you know what that means? That means the enemy can find a way in. That's the entrance for the enemy to come in. For you to say that about yourself is to say that you're powerless. You're powerless to change somebody's life. Oh, my goodness. Okay, I want to read a few more notes here. Behind every breakthrough, every aha, and every tangible shift in the fabric of this world was a storyteller who dared to make the impossible inevitable. See, that's what we're here to do. Make the impossible inevitable. Awesome, right? The world is shaped not only by inventions and discoveries, but by the stories that frame them. Every great movement, whether spiritual, artistic, or cultural, began when someone refused to accept that's just how things are. Oh my goodness, I'm so on fire. I want to tell some stories. How about you? I want to tell you a few quotes here by some of the great storytellers of the Renaissance. Leonardo da Vinci, he sketched flying machines centuries before anyone thought man could leave the ground. He narrated the impossible visually until future generations made it inevitable. Michelangelo said, I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. This is the Renaissance spirit, seeing what is hidden and narrating it into reality. Hmm. Interesting, interesting ways of seeing life. I have to say again that if I hadn't seen Charlie Kirk in the throne room the other day, I would not have shifted my mentality, and I know that my prayers would have been dead. I know that my prayers would not have contained the life-giving spirit of Jesus. They wouldn't have contained the hope. Hope is powerful. I know that those people I prayed with would not have experienced a shift if I hadn't done something about it. Each of the master artists of the Renaissance, they practiced a God-given principle, narrating what could be until the world had no choice but to align. Hmm. Okay. There are two narratives, stories that limit and stories that liberate. Stories that limit sound like this: I'm not enough. That's impossible. And this is just how things are. Do you find yourself saying those? Do you find yourself thinking them? Is this the constant narration that you're dealing with in your life? Do you feel that? Like, do you have this feeling of this is how it's always going to be? I'm always going to have to struggle. These are limiting stories, my friends, and this is why you're called to consider a different story for your life, a story that liberates, a story that sets you free, a story that helps you align with the ladder that's between you and heaven. You're always invited to into the throne room. You're always invited into the presence of God. And the truth is some people just can't get through that blackness that they see when they close their eyes. But you do it one step at a time. You do it by changing your narrative. This is how you can change your narrative into a story that liberates. I am chosen. Start saying that. I am chosen. I've been anointed. I've been anointed to do this. Nothing is impossible with God. The kingdom is within me. I am a gateway. You start calling yourself a gateway and just watch. Just watch. You'll start triggering things in your mind like, well, if I'm a gateway, what does that mean? What's coming through me? What's going to heaven through me? What's coming up and down? What am I allowing to come in me if I'm a gateway of the spirit? Which story will you architect? That's up to you. You get to ask that question. You get to fulfill it. You get to decide what story you're going to architect. I just want to give you some four things that will help activate you. One is awaken vision, by not by stopping the accepting the world as it is. Like Abraham, step outside your tent and count the stars. That's kind of simple. Just awaken your vision. Just decide, I am awakening my vision. I'm going to see how God sees. I'm going to see what's happening in the throne room. I'm going to ask him, what is happening? Who's there? Who do you need to see? I needed to see Charlie Kirk because I knew that he was the reason I felt heavy on Saturday. Who do you need to see? What do you need to see, perhaps? What situation do you need to see in the light of the throne room, in the light of you ruling and reigning? You're already there, seated on the throne with Jesus. You're seated in heavenly places with Christ. How does that shift what you're trying to do now here on earth? Number two is shift perspective. I kind of said that. See yourself as a co-creator with God, narrating his dream through your life. Number three is speak possibility. Refuse, that's just how things are. Instead, declare on earth as it is in heaven. You know, a lot of us just kind of we just say what we see, but we're not supposed to do that. When we see something that's not quite right, we say what God says over it. Oh, I see that darkness over there, but I declare God is invading that area. I declare God is all in all. He wants to be all in all. So I declare that for that person. And watch everything shift. You're possessing their gateways or their gates. You're possessing, you're called to be a possessor of the gates of your enemies. It just means you're supposed to shift their reality. You're shifting their reality over their life. You're shifting um, their satellite dish to the All Things Possible network. Isn't this amazing? I'm telling you. Number four, you are enforcing hope. Just decide to enforce hope. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is heaven's architecture to what must be built. Hope gives you scaffolding for the impossible. Let me say that again. Hope gives scaffolding for the impossible. Wow. Okay. So, practical application would be a daily narrative check. Check out what are you saying about yourself, to yourself? What are you thinking about your enemies? What are you thinking about those who want to kill you? Are you thinking about going and possessing their gates? Because you have been invited to. I know I've said that a few times. I just think it's funny. You know, we think we see all of our enemies and we're like, oh, kill them, get rid of them. But God's going, no, go possess their gates. Wow. How different would the world be if we just took charge of the narrative? Rewrite limiting stories. Um, yeah, rewrite the stories that are limiting you in your life. When you hear, I can't do that, just begin to say, no, I can do that. And I will do that. I will obey. I will become obedient to the call in my life because Jesus is worth it. Create tangible expression. Okay. So this is journaling, sketching, singing. Make a map of the impossible vision of God that He's putting in your spirit. Um, Articulating it moves it from the spirit into substance. So it's really good for you to articulate these expressions that you have. Okay, speak it in community. This is really healthy, and I want to really encourage you to do this, to share your narrative with others, because when you share your vision with others, it will literally employ the angels to activate what you need to be brought to you. They will go and get what you need when you articulate this to somebody else. Because why? Because God is creating community. He's creating community. He's creating all of us to come together in unity to create the narrative of God so that the world can see us and say, surely there is a God. God has been here all along and I didn't notice, but they just made him visible. This is why. This is why we do this. The Renaissance was not an individual event, but a collective awakening. And this is why it was so powerful. It's just like, you know, what happened with Charlie Kirk, wait, any of us see this going worldwide? Did any of us see this movement coming out like this? We did not. But it is a collective movement. We didn't realize how powerful it was until this week. Okay, now I want to do a closing declaration, and then we're going to go off record here and have some conversations. But I want you to say this out loud. I'm going to say you guys are all on mute, so you can say this. I'll say it slowly, but I want you to repeat after me. I am a narrator. I am a narrator of the impossible. I refuse to accept the story of limitation. I align with heaven's blueprint and declare that what was unseen will become seen. Through Christ, I am a co creator of a new reality. Amen. That is you. That is me. We are the co creators of a new reality. Okay, I'm going to go off and I'm going to talk a little bit about um, Italy, movie making, being a story maker, and the power of that. I hope you all can stay for that. But if you're not on this call when it's live, you are invited every Tuesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. And we have great conversation, prayer, prophetic declarations over one another. This is a power of, or this is a group of powerful women who love one another well. And we invite you to come. If not, we just pray a blessing over you. Thank you for watching. Some of you I have one-on-ones with, and I love that so much. And I'm so thankful and appreciative of every person that is a Patreon. Thank you so much for being here. I sure do love you. Have the best week until next week, because you're going from glory to glory.